My dad found out how much I make, so he showed up with my sister and demanded I give her my 5-bedroom house because she's pregnant. He walked right in without knocking. Didn't even use the doorbell I just installed. My sister Ash stood behind him in a designer maternity dress, hand on her barely showing belly, smirking like she'd already won. Dad looked around my living room like he was doing a property appraisal and said, "Pack your things. She needs this place more than you. I'd bought this house 3 months ago, saved for 6 years, worked 80-hour weeks at a job that aged me faster than it should have, skipped vacations, ate ramen more nights than I want to admit. Finally got promoted to senior project manager and made the down payment. Dad wasn't at the housewarming party, didn't even text congratulations, but somehow he knew exactly how much my promotion paid down to the dollar. He sat on my leather couch without being invited and said, "Family takes care of family." Rich coming from the man who shipped me to boarding school at 8 because his new wife, Marissa, didn't want to raise another woman's kid. I asked him where this energy was when Mom died in that car accident, and he looked at me like I was inconveniencing him just by existing. Ash walked around touching my stuff, picking up picture frames, opening cabinets. She said something about how the nursery could go in the guest room, and maybe she'd repaint the walls yellow. Dad pulled out his phone, showing me listings for studio apartments nearby. Said I could afford one of those easy with my salary. After all, I was single with no responsibilities. Ash needed space for the baby, and the father walked out, so she had nowhere to go. I felt my blood pressure rising, but I stayed calm. Asked him why he thought I owed her anything. He said, "Because we're blood," and I was being selfish, keeping this big house to myself when she's about to be a single mother. Ash pulled out her phone, showing me ultrasound photos dated 3 weeks ago. Dad said she was 4 months along and struggling, that I needed to step up and be the man he raised me to be. I almost laughed out loud. He didn't raise me. Boarding school raised me, then college roommates, then my first boss who actually gave a damn, then myself. But then I remembered something. 3 weeks ago, I got a message on LinkedIn from someone named Brian. Said he was Ash's ex-boyfriend and needed to talk urgently. We met at a coffee shop and he looked destroyed. He told me Ash claimed the baby was his, demanded child support, but something felt off about the timeline. So, he paid $200 for a private DNA test using her discarded coffee cup and cigarette butt. The baby wasn't his, but Brian didn't stop there. He was angry enough to dig deeper. He knew Ash had been weirdly close to Dad, coming home late from dinners alone with him, taking weekend trips together without Marissa, so he ran another test. I'd kept a folder in my desk drawer, didn't know what to do with it. Part of me hoped I'd never need it. I walked to my home office while Dad kept talking about family obligations and how Mom would have wanted this. Came back with my laptop and the printed results Brian had given me. I sat down across from both of them. Dad was mid-sentence about how I should be grateful he's even asking nicely instead of just moving them in. I opened the laptop and turned the screen toward him. His face went from angry to confused to absolutely white in about 5 seconds. Ash stopped scrolling on her phone. The DNA results were clear. Brian wasn't the father, but the DNA showed a 99.97% match to another sample. A sample Brian had collected from Dad's coffee mug when he visited Ash's apartment. I looked at Dad and said, "You're sitting here demanding I give up my house for your daughter, but the baby she's carrying isn't your grandchild. It's your child." Ash's face went bright red. She started stammering something about the test being fake and Brian being crazy. Then she just stopped talking entirely and sat down on my couch, hands on her belly, staring at nothing. Dad started pacing, running his hands through his hair, muttering about how this couldn't be happening. After a full minute of silence, Ash looked up at me with completely dry eyes and asked in this flat voice when I planned to tell Marissa. I didn't answer her, just stared at both of them sitting there on my couch like they had any right to be in my house. The silence stretched out so long I could hear the refrigerator humming in the kitchen. Dad had stopped pacing and was just standing there with his hands on his hips, looking at the floor. Ash was still looking at me with those empty eyes, waiting for an answer I wasn't gonna give her. "Get out," I said. My voice came out quieter than I meant it to, but they both heard me fine. Dad's head snapped up. "We need to talk about this." "No, we don't. You need to leave, both of you." Ash stood up slowly, one hand still on her stomach like she was protecting something precious instead of holding evidence of the most messed up thing I'd ever heard. "You can't just—" "I can. It's my house. The one you were trying to take from me 5 minutes ago." I walked to the front door and opened it. "Out!" Dad took a step toward me, and for a second I thought he might actually try to argue, but something in my face must have stopped him. He grabbed his keys off my coffee table. Ash followed him, moving like she was in a dream, not looking at me as she passed. Right before Dad stepped outside, he turned back. "I need time to think about this. Don't do anything stupid this weekend." I almost laughed. That's rich coming from you. He flinched like I'd hit him, then walked out. I closed the door and locked it, then stood there listening to his car start up and pull away. The house felt different now, contaminated kind of, like they'd brought something toxic in with them that was still hanging in the air. I went back to my office and put the DNA results back in the drawer, then just sat at my desk staring at nothing. My hands were shaking. I kept replaying moments in my head that I'd never thought twice about before. Family dinners where Ash always sat next to Dad, him paying for her car when she was 22 and perfectly capable of getting a job. That trip they took to Portland 2 years ago, just the two of them, because Ash wanted to visit some college she was supposedly interested in. She never ended up applying. I didn't sleep that night, just laid in bed watching the ceiling fan go around and around, my brain refusing to shut off. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Dad's face when I showed him those results. Not guilty, not ashamed, just scared of getting caught. The next afternoon, someone knocked on my door. I checked the camera I'd installed last month and saw Dad standing there alone, looking like he'd aged 10 years overnight. His shirt was wrinkled and he had dark circles under his eyes that matched mine. I thought about not answering, but honestly, I kind of wanted to hear what he'd say. So I opened the door but didn't invite him in. "We need to talk," he said. "So talk." He glanced past me into the house like he was hoping I'd let him in. When I didn't move, he sighed. "That DNA test, it's nobody's business." "Nobody's business?" I repeated. "You got your daughter pregnant and you think that's nobody's business?" "You had no right to dig into our lives like that," he said, his voice getting louder. "Brian had no right. This is a private matter." "Our lives?" I said. "You mean your life with Ash? Is that what you're calling it now?" He caught himself, his face going red. "That's not, I didn't mean—" He stopped, running his hand over his face. "Look, Ash is fragile right now. She doesn't need stress. Stress isn't good for the baby." The way he said the baby made my stomach turn, like it was just some abstract concept and not his own kid with his own daughter. "You need to leave," I said. You're trying to protect yourself. Don't pretend this is about Ash or that baby. You're scared, and you're trying to figure out how to keep your life from falling apart." He opened his mouth to argue, then closed it. For a second, he just stood there looking at me, and I could see him realize that nothing he said was going to make this better. He turned and walked back to his car without another word. Over the next few days, Ash started texting me. At first, it was like every few hours, then it got more frequent. The messages were all over the place. Some of them were almost apologetic, saying things like, "I know this is hard for you to understand," and "things just got complicated." Then others were angry, accusing me of being cruel and heartless for not helping family. But the thing was, she never actually addressed what happened, never said the words, "I'm sorry," never acknowledged that what she and Dad did was wrong. She just kept circling back to the same thing over and over. She was broke. She was pregnant. She had nowhere to live. She couldn't work much longer because the pregnancy was making her tired. One text said, "Where am I supposed to go? I have no money and no job and a baby coming. Are you really going to let your niece or nephew end up homeless?" Another one said, "Dad said you hate us now. Is that true? Do you hate your own family?" Then, "I'm desperate here. I need help. You're the only one with money." I didn't respond to any of them, just watched them come in and stack up on my phone, each one making me feel more sick than the last. The desperation in her messages would have gotten to me if she'd actually been apologizing for what she'd done. But she wasn't sorry. She was just sorry she got caught and lost her meal ticket. About a week after Dad showed up at my house, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Hello?"
"Hi, this is Marissa." Her voice sounded tired, really tired. "Can we meet somewhere? I need to talk to you."
We met at a coffee shop near her office the next day. She was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with a cup she hadn't touched. She looked smaller than I remembered, like someone had let the air out of her. I sat down across from her and waited. "I know something's wrong," she said, not looking at me. "Your father's been acting strange for over a week now. He's sleeping in the guest room. He jumps every time his phone goes off. He won't tell me what's going on, but I can tell he's hiding something." She finally looked up at me. "Did he get Ash pregnant?" The directness of it caught me off guard. I guess I expected her to dance around it more. "Yeah," I said. She nodded slowly like I'd confirmed something she already knew. She didn't look shocked, just exhausted. "I had a feeling. I didn't want to believe it, but—" She trailed off, staring at her coffee cup. "How long has it been going on?" "I don't know. I just found out myself." "But you're sure? You have proof?" I pulled up the DNA results on my phone and slid it across the table. She looked at them for a long time, her jaw tight. "I already knew something was wrong between them," she said quietly. "The way they'd whisper to each other at dinner, how he'd always take her side in arguments, those trips they'd take together." She looked up at me. "I told myself I was being paranoid, that I was a bad person for even thinking something like that could be happening." "You're not a bad person," I said. "They are." She gave a sad sort of laugh and slid my phone back. "Are you going to tell anyone else?" "No, I want nothing to do with any of them." She nodded. "I'm leaving him. I'm meeting with a lawyer tomorrow, but I'm not going to tell anyone why. I can't." Her voice cracked a little. My family would ask why I didn't see it. They'd want to know how I could have been so blind. And honestly, I don't have an answer for that.
You didn't do anything wrong.
I stayed married to a man who was sleeping with his own daughter, she said flatly. I don't know if that makes me guilty or just pathetic. We sat there in silence for a minute. I didn't know what to say to that.
I might need to contact you during the divorce,
She said.
just for logistics. But other than that, I don't want anything to do with them either.
That's fine. She stood up, leaving her coffee untouched on the table. Take care of yourself, she said. And then she was gone. 2 weeks later, I was at work when my phone started blowing up with calls from Dad. I ignored the first 3, but then he started leaving voicemails. I listened to the first one during my lunch break. You need to call me back, his voice said, sounding strained. This is urgent. It's about your sister. I deleted it. Then I listened to the second one. I lost my job. Marissa's family got me fired. They own part of the company and they made some calls. This is all your fault. If you hadn't shown me that test, none of this would have happened. The third voicemail was longer. He was rambling, his words running together like he'd been drinking. You've always been jealous of what Ash and I have. You couldn't stand that she needed me more than she needed you. You wanted to punish us. You wanted to destroy our family. Well, congratulations. You did it. Are you happy now? I sat there in my car, phone in my hand, trying to process what I'd just heard. What Ash and I have. He'd said it like they were a couple, like this was a normal relationship that I was interfering with. I blocked his number after that. Didn't listen to the rest of the voicemails. Just blocked him and tried to go back to work. But I couldn't focus. Couldn't stop hearing his voice, saying those words. The next incident happened about a month after the whole thing started. I was at my desk when security called up to say someone was in the lobby asking for me. I went down and found Ash sitting in one of the waiting area chairs, crying. She was showing now. Not hugely pregnant, but enough that people could tell. She stood up when she saw me, one hand on her stomach. I need to talk to you, she said, loud enough that the security guard and the receptionist both looked over. Not here, I said. Then where? You won't answer my calls or texts. You blocked Dad. What am I supposed to do? I led her outside to the parking lot, away from the building. What do you want, Ash? I need money, she said. Dad lost his job. We're almost out of savings. I can't work anymore. I'm too tired and sick all the time. I need help. Get it from someone else. There is no one else, her voice cracked. Everyone thinks this is Brian's baby. I can't exactly go around telling people the truth, can I?
That's not my problem.
You're so cruel, she said, wiping her eyes. We didn't mean for things to get so complicated. It just happened. But you're acting like we're monsters. You are, I said. You and Dad both. She flinched. It's not like that. You don't understand. We have a connection. It's not what you think. Stop, I said. I don't want to hear it. You're punishing an innocent baby, she said, her hand on her stomach again. This baby didn't do anything wrong. How can you be so heartless? I'm not giving you money. She stared at me for a long moment, her face going from sad to angry. You know what? Fine. I hope you're happy living in your big house all alone while your niece or nephew grows up in poverty. I hope you think about that every single day. She walked away, heading toward a beat-up car I didn't recognize parked at the edge of the lot. I watched her drive away, then went back inside. My hands were shaking again. A few days later, I ran into someone I used to go to high school with at the grocery store. We weren't close, but we'd stayed loosely connected on social media. After the usual small talk, she mentioned she'd seen Ash recently. She's living with your dad now, right? She said. That's so nice that they're helping each other out during this hard time. Family supporting family, you know? I just nodded and said something non-committal, then got out of there as fast as I could. But it stuck with me. People were seeing them together and just accepting the surface story. Brother and sister helping each other. Nobody was questioning it. Nobody thought anything was weird about a father and his pregnant daughter living together. It made me feel crazy, like I was the only one who could see what was really happening. That night I got an email from Dad. It came in at 2 a.m., which should have been my first clue. The subject line was empty. I know you think we're wrong, it started. I know you think this is sick, but what happened with Ash and I, it just evolved naturally over time. We didn't plan it. We didn't want it to happen, but we couldn't help developing feelings for each other. Connection doesn't follow rules. It doesn't care about what society thinks is acceptable. If you could just understand that, maybe we could all move forward. Maybe we could be a family again. Ash needs you. We need you. The baby needs you. He used we like they were a couple, like they were just two people in love who happened to be related, and that was just an unfortunate detail. I deleted the email without responding, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. The delusion in every word, the complete lack of awareness that what he was describing was abuse, that he'd groomed his own daughter, that she was his victim, even if she didn't see it that way. I couldn't sleep that night either, or the next night. I started having these dreams where I was back in boarding school and Dad was dropping me off, telling me to be good, telling me Marissa needed space. In the dreams, Ash was always there too, waving goodbye from the car window, smiling. 3 months into this nightmare, my phone rang while I was at work. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Hello, this is County General Hospital calling for next of kin for Ashley Morrison." My stomach dropped. "I'm her brother. What's wrong?" "Ms. Morrison has gone into early labor. She's 7 months pregnant. She listed you as her emergency contact. Can you come to the hospital?" I stood there in my office, phone pressed to my ear, trying to figure out what to say. "Is she okay?" "She's in active labor. The baby is premature, so we need to monitor closely. Are you able to come?" I should have said no. Should have told them to call someone else. But I heard myself saying, "I'll be there in 20 minutes. The whole drive over, I kept asking myself why I was doing this. Why I was going. She had Dad. She could call him. But when the hospital called again before I even got there, the nurse sounded worried. "She's asking for you. She's very distressed." When I got to the maternity ward, a nurse led me to Ash's room. She was in a hospital gown, hooked up to monitors, her face red and wet with tears. "Where is he?" she said the second she saw me. "Where's Dad? Why isn't he here?" "I don't know, Ash. I'm not in touch with him anymore. He promised he'd be here." She was breathing hard, grabbing at the bed rails. "He said he'd be here when the baby came. Where is he?" A nurse came in to check her vitals, and I stepped out into the hallway, pulled out my phone and stared at it, trying to decide if I should even try to reach Dad. I unblocked his number and sent a text. "Ash is in labor at County General. She's asking for you." No response. I waited in the hallway while they prepped her for delivery. Another nurse came out and asked if I was the father. I said no, I was her brother. The nurse looked confused and checked her clipboard. "The paperwork says the father's name is Richard Morrison. That's your father's name, right? Same last name." I felt sick. "Yeah, that's him." "Is he coming?" "I don't know." The nurse looked uncomfortable, like she was picking up on something weird but couldn't quite place it. She went back inside. I tried calling Dad. It rang twice and went to voicemail. I tried 2 more times. Nothing. Ash was in labor for 6 hours. I stayed in the waiting room the whole time, not really sure why. Maybe because I kept thinking Dad would show up, that he'd at least do that much, but he never came. Around 9 p.m., a doctor came out and told me the baby had been born premature. A girl, 5 pounds, 2 ounces. She was in the NICU being monitored but seemed stable. Ash was resting. Did I want to see her? I said yes before I could think better of it. Ash was lying in the hospital bed looking pale and exhausted. Her hair was stuck to her forehead with sweat. When she saw me, she started crying again. "He's not coming, is he?" she said. I tried calling him. He didn't answer. "We had a fight this morning." Her voice was barely a whisper. "I told him I wanted him to put his name on the birth certificate, officially. I wanted him to claim the baby publicly. He said no. He said people would ask too many questions. I told him if he really loved me, he'd do it anyway." She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "He said he needed time to think. That was 8 hours ago." I stood there not knowing what to say. Part of me felt bad for her, which I hated. She'd done this to herself. They both had. But seeing her lying there, alone, asking for someone who clearly wasn't coming, I couldn't help but feel something. "The baby's okay?" she asked. "Doctor said she's stable. They're monitoring her in the NICU. Did you see her?" "No." She looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw something in her face I hadn't seen before. Fear. Real fear. "I can't do this alone," she said. "You're not alone. You have Dad." "Do I?" She laughed, but it came out wrong. Bitter. "He won't even answer his phone. He won't claim his own baby. What does that tell you?" "Ash Dash, this is your fault," she said suddenly, her voice going hard. "If you hadn't shown him that DNA test, we could have kept everything quiet. We were fine before you stuck your nose in. We had it worked out, but you had to ruin everything." I felt something shift in my chest. "I ruined it? I didn't get you pregnant. I didn't groom you since you were a kid. That was all Dad. He didn't groom me," she snapped. "Don't say that. We fell in love. It just happened. You're his daughter?" "I know what I am." She was almost yelling now, and a nurse poked her head in to check if everything was okay. Ash waved her away. "I know exactly what I am. But we were happy. We were making it work. And then you had to destroy it because you couldn't stand that someone else was happy for once." I stared at her. "You actually believe that?" "Get out," she said. "Ash Dash, get out. I don't want you here. I don't need you. I don't need anybody." I left. Walked straight out of that room, down the hallway, past the nurse's station, and out into the parking lot. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from an unknown number. "I can't do this. It's too much. I'm staying with a friend out of state until I figure things out. Tell Ash I'm sorry." I read it twice, then 3 times. No mention of the baby. No mention of Ash by name beyond telling me to pass along a message. Just, "It's too much," and figure things out. I blocked the number and kept walking to my car, started the engine, pulled out of the parking lot, and drove home in silence. When I got there, I sat in my driveway for 20 minutes with the engine off, staring at my house. The house Dad had tried to take from me. The house I'd worked 6 years to afford. I went inside, locked the door behind me, and stood in my living room where this whole thing had started. Right there on that couch, was where Dad had sat and demanded I give up everything I'd worked for, where Ash had smirked like she'd already won, where I'd pulled out those DNA results and watched their faces change. My phone was still in my hand. I looked down at it, at the blocked number, at the pathetic excuse of a message Dad had sent, and I deleted the whole conversation. Then I put my phone down and didn't pick it up again. Thanks for watching till the end. Make sure to like and subscribe to not miss the next story.